Hi, I'm Halbert, and this video is for people who want to become a professional copywriter, and I'm hopefully going to get a few people before they start taking courses and joining groups and following YouTube channels and so forth, because I want to give you advice in this video that's going to really shortcut or cut out a lot of the time it's going to take to go from beginner to highly paid professional copywriter. Okay, so my first piece of advice is try and figure out very early on what type of copywriter you want to be. All the copy you write is usually going to fall into one of two main categories. There are subcategories, but the main two categories are content copywriters and direct response copywriters. And content copywriters write articles for e-zines and for websites. They write blog posts for blogs. They write about us pages. They do a little bit more work in branding. And there's a lot of good reasons to just be a content copywriter. When you do get a job from clients, there's usually a lot more repeat work that comes from those clients because a website is going to want more than just one article. Whereas in direct response copy, where your words are trying to get a direct response from whoever has just listened to or read your words. And those are measurable, and it's usually the ultimate of what we want is the action we want them to take is a sale. And since that ultimate action is a sale, usually the companies aren't selling so many things that they need an on-staff direct response copywriter. So content copywriters are more likely to get a job with an organization for somebody that we need lots of content written, we need press releases written, we need all kinds of things written for us, whereas a direct response copywriter is usually a hired gun, not an on-staff position. There's a few exceptions to that, but not an on-staff position because there's only a few things that we're selling. Okay, now once you know which one you want to be, it changes a little bit about how much time you focus learning from different sources. So for example, if you want to be a content copywriter, I would suggest you join the Copywriter Club. It's a great club. I'm a member of it. I've spoken at a couple of their events. Rob Marsh and Kira Hug run that. They're fantastic people, and they do have some direct response copywriters in their group. But we in the Gary Halbert Copy Club are much more focused on direct response, just because that's the way my family has been training direct response copywriters for decades now, if you include what my father did. So there is just knowing that changes how much time and the differences on how you get those jobs and stuff like that. So try and figure out which one you really want to focus on. They're not mutually exclusive. A direct response copywriter will often have to write some content emails to warm up the audience and build trust. And, you can only do so much, provide so much content before you actually offer something for sale or you go out of business. So, but you will be focused as one more than the other. A content copywriter will often get paid by the hour. They can get more, there's more salaried positions for it. They sometimes get paid even by the word. A direct response copywriter most of the time gets paid by the job. And they get paid more. The reason they get paid more is very logical and simple. 100 sales is worth more than 100 likes. So once you've decided that, of which kind you want to do, start paying attention to who you're listening to and to whether they are teaching you how to become a direct response copywriter or a content copywriter. Okay, next piece of advice that I want to give you. I want to actually kind of sketch out a little bit about the journey and tell you about the two biggest mistakes I see people who are starting out do. Okay, the journey of becoming throughout the time of being a copywriter, you're going to focus on three main activities: learning to become a better copywriter, writing copy for clients, and getting clients. Okay, they're all three part of the job. At the very beginning, you have to do nothing but learn because you don't have clients, and you have to learn something to become of value to your clients. Okay, and then what happens is you learn some skills and you start applying a little bit of time trying to find clients, and then you start to get clients. Once you start getting a few clients, you're still spending time learning. You're spending a little time writing, and you're spending a lot of your time trying to get clients. If you get to the other end of the spectrum, you're hopefully still learning how to become a better copywriter, and the process should never stop. All the best copywriters in the world I know continue to learn and innovate and so forth. But they spend a lot less time trying to get clients because their reputation has made it so that people are lined up to hire them. And they spend a lot more time writing. Now, there's the two mistakes I see everybody making is they take a course and they're quickly trying to jump in and, charge $10,000, $15,000 for a direct response copywriting package, and they're nowhere near qualified to do that. Okay, but the other bigger mistake that I see most often is people waiting too long to charge. You can start charging as soon as you are somebody who's of value to the clients that you're targeting. So if you're talking about a small company, they have a landing page and a small list, but they're not emailing anything, just getting them to start emailing and making a few offers, you're of value to them. And this is going to lead me to another point that I want to make, which is study strategy as much as you do copywriting. Study certain techniques in direct response. Become a direct response marketing consultant. Think of that as one of your as what you're also learning, because it means more work for you if you can start telling them, look, what you really want to do is send out 3 or 4 emails where you send out some curiosity and benefit-laden emails, and then start some sense of urgency emails. But just knowing things like, hey, change the subject line of the piece that you wrote and sending it out to the people who didn't open on your email list will add more sales. That piece of information, which is just strategy, is worth it to the client to be, is worth money to the clients. So there's no reason you can't earn as you learn. So don't take too long to actually study copywriting before you try and start getting small gigs and so forth. Now, this also leads me to another point. When people are telling you that you can quit your job and you're going to be able to support your family and work from anywhere in the world, and you're going to be able to do that in 90 days and so forth, be a little skeptical of that, okay? The reason you should be skeptical of it is not just that very few people can actually pull that off, but it's never quite the way that it seems it is. So, for example, I have friends that, went and spent a lot of time in Europe, and because they can write copy from anywhere in the world. But one, you have to be up on American time zone. So they're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, to attend a meeting, with the marketing department of the company that they're working with. So they don't tell you the rub, the hard part of something. And so you always want to follow people who do tell you the rub and the hard part of stuff, which also leads me to the what versus the how. It is a common and proper and good strategy to tell people what they need to know or what they need to do, and then sell them how to do it. What we like to do is tell people what they need to know, show them a few things on how to do it, and then sell them on even more how to, steps and doing things. So what you want to do is learn as you go, and the amount of money that you put into your learning and your resources should be about, it should start steadily increasing. And you can start off for free. You can start off going into those groups. And here's a tip. When you go into the Copywriter Club, the Gary Halbert Copy Club, or any other copywriting club, go into the files section. That's where you're going to find a lot of goodness. And you're going to also find where they have, posted answers to common questions that beginners ask that, the club owners are kind of tired of hearing asked over and over and over again. But there's also some great information in there. We have a guide on becoming a direct response copywriter in our group. And it's up in the files. There's all kinds of great information that are up there. So start off looking there as opposed to just watching the feed go by and a bunch of people, stroking their egos by telling you about what kind of jobs they just landed and so forth. Okay. So there are these free resources that will give you good information, but pay attention to the people who are showing you stuff that you can actually use right away, because that's another tip to becoming a great copywriter fast. The more you can apply something in your business, like you have a couple of clients and you hear a tip and you go and try it, it burns it into your brain that, hey, this really works. Or it saves you a lot of time from studying how to do something and finding out that this really doesn't work very well. It may have worked in the past for the person selling this course on this information, but it's not working for me, so I'm not going to spend nearly as much time on that. Okay, so the quicker you can practice practice what somebody else is preaching, the quicker you get to find out whether or not it's right for you or works for you. So do not start paying attention to people with high name recognition alone. Pay attention to how they teach you. Pay attention to what they show you and if that works for you, because people naturally learn better from different methods and different ways and from different people than they do others. So there is no one right way. I am not the perfect mentor for everybody who wants to learn how to become a copywriter. But that being said, the one thing that I will tell you to look out for is the pitfall of this person's really famous, so therefore, and you hear their name a lot. And I'm saying that as somebody whose name is heard a lot. Not just my last name and Gary Halbert, Bond Halbert is heard a lot. You can Google me. Which is also another resource to get a whole bunch of great information. Take the people who you hear about as being good copywriters and good teachers and so forth. Start looking at the podcasts that they've been interviewed on. And when you start looking them up, whether it's through iTunes or Google and so forth, you can get a lot of great information, especially if they are copywriters who aren't teachers. And the ones, so you can look at mine, you can look at other people, and you find out that when they pull, these working copywriters out, they're not really trying to tell you what to do and then sell you the how. So they usually are a lot quicker to just go in there and tell you how they've accomplished things and how they've done things. But it's, I'm not saying it's not worth it to go and invest in a course right away. What you just don't invest your life savings in courses and mentors before you start making money as a direct response or even a content copywriter. Start off, diving in, grab books, learn the ropes. Go to my blog, bondhalbert.com, and you will see one of the first things I send everybody is a list of books that I recommend. Some are actually even free, but you then want to, escalate and continue on your journey, and going from, a lot of free information to reading a few books to, taking some courses. But again, earn as you learn. Okay. And that's the, another piece of advice I'm going to give you. It's about learning the art of copywriting, which is not about being a great writer. You don't have to sound like Hemingway or Jack Kerouac or, any of the fantastic writers, that you read. The point, it's much more important that the message, the way that you think and the way that you change the way people think with the arguments that you make are much more critical than how you say something. Okay. And so, that is something that you want to keep in mind. I also want to ensure that people know, that it really isn't about English skill. In fact, I would much rather have somebody who speaks English as a second language than I would to have somebody who has a degree in creative writing. Okay, it's easier for me to turn around and have somebody who's got great arguments, great thoughts, knows what it's like to be the prospect, and somebody who can do good research, and have their work actually edited by somebody who's the equivalent of a high school graduate or a first-year college student, and then, and run that as copy. And I'd rather do that than take somebody who is, trying to wax poetic and start writing like you would for a college paper. And I know that I'm a college graduate, but I've learned copywriting even before going to college. So the one thing that I can tell you for sure is the two writing styles are completely different. And basically it is about what you're saying, not how you say it. This video, for example, is completely unscripted. I'm just giving you advice and tips and imparting information. And I'm going to do a few more videos for beginners as well. Okay. So my advice in summation is figure out whether you want to be a content or a direct response copywriter. Learn a little bit about both, but figure that out because it'll help tell you what you're doing. Look at podcasts with guests on them. Pay attention to how people train and teach you. Join groups. Look at their files for information and guides and things like that. And then you start taking the next step, which I'm going to talk about in my next video, which is about, going from getting enough skill to be of value to your clients so that you can start charging on your way to the big leagues where you can charge a lot of money for your copy, and the big leagues in general, you'll hear people throwing around a lot of big numbers, but the big leagues are generally $50,000 for ad copy in an email sequence and a percentage of the gross. To get to that level, you have to have a great reputation. You have to have proven yourself as to being a very good direct response copywriter, and earned that. But it can be done, and it doesn't take a lifetime to do it. But you got to start off with taking jobs that you may not even be making a lot of money on the job, but you have to start practicing to get those numbers up, right? And to start being able to prove that you are worth it and of a much greater value to companies that can afford to pay you a higher retainer. Okay, so that's it for this first video. Look for my next video, which is basically how to start being of value to clients so you can start charging immediately. Good luck.